Welcome back to PHP Paradise. We're now ready to start building Mike's t-shirt store. At the end of the last stage, we had covered the basics of working with PHP and installed the software necessary for your computer to function as a web server. Go ahead and start up your local web server again, and then browse to the root of it. Unless you've changed something since last time, you should see a directory listing with your test.php file in it. We'll be using PHP to generate HTML files, but we won't be covering how to write the HTML and CSS themselves. I've put together some HTML, CSS, and image files we can use as a starting point. Go ahead and get that zip archive in the download section on this page.
Once the download completes, unzip the archive. Open up the extracted Shirts for Mike folder, and you'll see in there some other folders and an index.html file. Select all these items and move them to your htdocs directory. Let me show you in the browser what we'll be starting with. Refresh the root of your web server, and you should now see the home page of Shirts for Mike instead of a directory listing. Most web servers are configured to display a file named index.html or index.php at the root by default. Right now, it's displaying the new index.html file. Now open up that HTML file in your text editor. You can see that I'm referencing an external CSS file here. I'm also referencing some external images. This page has a number of links to other pages that we haven't built yet, both in the navigation and in the list of latest shirts. I've put a hash sign here as a temporary location for now, and we'll update those links as we build out the pages. There are two things I want to cover before we start adding those new pages. The first has to do with file extensions for PHP. Let's start by changing the title tag and the copyright date to use PHP. By now, you should be familiar with these two commands. Let's save this page and go back to the browser. When I refresh the page, we'll see something that you might not have expected to see. The PHP code here in the title tag, and nothing here for the date. Our web server did not execute the PHP code in this file. Why not? Because our file has an extension of .html. Our PHP server will only examine a file and execute the PHP code in it if that file has an extension it identifies as PHP, something like .php. Let's close this file and rename it from the sidebar, from index.html to index.php. Now, when we open the file in the browser, the web server recognizes the extension, executes the PHP code, and displays the title and the year correctly. The second thing I want to cover before we start adding new pages involves PHP errors. Let's open up that renamed index.php file and introduce an error. Let's change echo to something invalid like echo with an extra C. Save the file again and go back to the browser. Uh-oh, our PHP error produced an error page.
You see, HTML is very generous. The browser ignores your mistakes and tries the best it can to render the page. PHP, on the other hand, is much stricter and much less forgiving. Any syntax error can result in the page not loading correctly. Only part of the page may load, or you may see a white screen or the browser's error page like this. Go back to your file now and remove that extra C and save the page. Click refresh to see our homepage working again. Much better. With those two notes about the file extensions and PHP errors, we're now ready to start building out more of our store.